Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review. I'm here today to talk about Black History Month, the month that is a celebration of my people, because I am a black man and everything. And it's about all our accomplishments, all the oppression that we have gone through over like centuries of living in like America and stuff like that. So I'm here today to talk to you about Bear and Jamal. This is a very, very, very classic and very forgotten cartoon series that came out on Fox Kids back in February of 1996. And it only lasted for 2 seasons of a total of 13 episodes. And the crazy thing is that like a lot of people have never heard of this series, but a lot of people watched it, but tend to forget about it, but some have not. And that's because this is a show that, was so short-lived. And it's very surprising that it's short-lived because this show is very similar to other shows. Basically, this show is, if you was to combine Fairly Odd Parents with that of Lizzie McGuire, you would get this show because it has the same premise. But these two shows came out years after that of Bear and Jamal. But it's also similar to another project. It's very similar to that of Boy Meets World and Toy Story. Now, Boy Meets World came out in 93 and Toy Story came out in that of 1995 in November. And so, Bear and Jamal. So this show is kind of like the predecessor to that of Boy Meets World and Toy Story, whereas Lizzie McGuire and Fairly Odd Parents is the predecessor to that of Bear and Jamal. And Bear and Jamal has a very unique premise. Basically, it's a little stuffed animal bear, light brown, somewhat orangish, and it wears pants, shades, and like a hat. And he's very ghetto. Like he is straight up from like just the hood. And he comes alive to interact with his owner, a little boy by the name of Jamal. And it's there that he helps Jamal out on all his problems. And he's also magical, where his magic isn't really 100% explained, but he appears to have the powers of illusion. Rather than just making things actually happen and go into like a make-believe land or something like that. He just appears to project things around Jamal and they interact and they have like a blast where he's being taught like a lesson. And then it's like whenever he sees another person come around, he'll quickly snap his fingers and makes it go away. So I believe he has the power of illusion because it's never explained, one, how he came alive, and two, how his magical powers exactly work. But the thing about this cartoon is that there is little to no information on it. We don't know exactly why it was created. We don't know exactly why it was canceled. Although I got some speculations and everything. I got some speculations. But I'll get into that a little bit later. But the thing about this that was so great is that it's a really good cartoon, and it centers around that predominantly a black cast, and there are a couple of other races in there too to even things out. There's a white kid, there's an Asian girl, and there's a Hispanic boy. But the predominantly like black cast is something important because this was a cartoon in the late 90s, in an American television show. Because it is technically an American German because of the German company, but it's mostly an American show. And you don't really see too many black cartoons back in those days. You saw them in the early 90s because they were in the 80s because they were capitalizing on a lot of black celebrities like MC Hammer. But it was really rare for them to come up with something so unique and original and stuff. Now, I've been wanting to talk about this for 2 years now, but I couldn't because I couldn't get my bearings on it because I hadn't seen this since I was a teenager. I was probably my second year of high school when this came out. And so it was on Roku TV a few years back, like 2 years ago, but I don't see it there no more. But now it's on YouTube, the actual YouTube site where they have like real TV shows and movies for like free and stuff like that. It's there and you can watch every episode, but they are out of order. For some bizarre reason, streaming shows like to do that. I have no idea why. Um in the words of Kwame from the show, it's probably just how the man like to stick it to you. The show was created by rapper Tone Loc, and I've never ever heard of him. I always assumed it was Master P who voiced him, but it's not. And he's the one who voices Sea Bear, the imaginatory stuffed animal that comes to life. Well, he's not really imaginatory, but yeah, he's a stuffed animal that comes to life. And he has this really deep, like gravelly type voice. And it always threw me for a loop the way he sounded because like I was never ever expecting his voice to sound quite like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it just sounds so deep and gravelly. But it's also co-created by Earl Ritchie Jones and his brother Todd Jones. And they are two cartoon creators who've done other things. And so all three men are black. So what they wanted was to have a cartoon series that where kids, you know, could experience like, you know, black culture. And not only that, but like, so they could see themselves in cartoons because that's very rare, especially in the 90s, to see yourself on television because there weren't that many. And normally if there were, it would probably be like the only one I really remember is Storm from like the X-Men. But I do remember like, you know, the MC Hammer show. They had Kid and Play. I'm not sure if I ever watched that or not, but I do remember they had that. And this was many decades after Fat Albert and stuff, you know? So it was always good to have that representation on television and to see yourselves. And this depicts, because like I said, it's primarily black, you know, because he has friends as well. It doesn't just depict one type of black person. It depicts several different types. You have like the sassy, fast speaking, like type girl. You have kind of like more of this like, you know, ghetto thuggish type dude. You have more of the more like, you know, mild-mannered type. So there's so many different kinds. And then you have the educated kind who's more of like a civil rights advocate, philosopher type. So you have all these different types and these different portrayals, and where little kids could literally see themselves. But it wasn't just little black kids, it was kids of any race and stuff. And that was so great about this show because the things that like Seabear and Jamal go through and he tries to teach them lessons, they were real lessons. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like Fairly Odd Parents where Timmy just goes on a wacky adventure and Timmy causes like havoc and the fairies and Timmy has to like save like, you know, whatever it is Timmy conjured up and all this other crazy like crap. I mean, this really taught you real, true life lessons and stuff. Because the thing that was so great about this that they brought to this show was like it dealt with, because the thing is they never really explained what happened to Jamal's like mother, but it's implied that she might have died because they hint around that. And his father's a hardworking man and loves his son, but he also wants to date as well. So when he starts to date like a woman, of course Jamal is there trying to ruin it because he doesn't want his dad dating another woman because she's interfering with their time because they normally go bowling on a certain night and now they can't because now he's spending time with this other woman. And you know how it is when you like a child and your parents single, you don't want them to date, especially if you're a boy, especially if it's your mom. You always try to interfere in that. I know I did, and I succeeded as well, because you just don't want that to happen and stuff. And this was something I'm like, oh man, like I remember like crap like that, because it's so real like that. There are other episodes where like his dad is so cheap because his dad is a security guard and doesn't get paid much, because they do live in like the ghetto, and they do live like in a very poor type area, so they're like lower class but not super lower class, you know. And he also lives with his grandparents. And so his dad brought him some very cheap clothes to go to school in. So Jamal's 9 years old, about to turn 10 in the next episode. And his dad just bought him some cheap looking, crappy clothes. We have all been there before. My dad did that when I was in middle school one time. Oh my God, I was so embarrassed. Man, I had to go to school wearing that crap. Brown pants that were corduroy pants, something like that. They were so thick, so ugly. No shirt I could wear with it made it look nice. And the shirts he got me was so crappy. I think he got me one with Goofy on there, like, you know, Goofy from Mickey Mouse and stuff. I hated those clothes so much. And so, you know, everybody's like picking on him and everything, stuff like that. And Bear's there to help him out, to let him know that, you know, your dad's a hard-working man, and it doesn't matter like really what you wear, and he like you're loved and all this other crap. And but even though Bear does make fun of him as well. And I remember there was like another episode where it's like, what is it? That has to do with the girl Maya, and she's really smart. And so Jamal, thinking like a 90's boy, telling her that, you know, us boys don't like it because you're so smart, and, you know, we don't like it that, you know, you're better than us and stuff like that. So you probably need to dumb yourself down a little bit. So she starts making bad grades, hoping that boys will like her, which is a terrible lesson, you know, because she wants to be like a supermodel and this and that. But her whole thing is just to have boys like her. And it's to where her teacher has to get on to her, you know, and make her be smart again. Because, you know, you have to realize that, you know, dumbing yourself down for another person and trying to change yourself is never a good thing. Then there's an episode where he doesn't like appreciate his grandfather and stuff. And there was one episode where he would tell a lie just to make people happy, because he didn't want to hurt people's feelings. So Bear got him to tell the truth, but he told it too much to where he couldn't stop telling the truth and started getting in trouble by that. And like, you know, there was like this one episode where you had to go to like your parents' job, and like he was embarrassed by his father. He thought his father was like this big cop, you know, taking down the bad guys, but he's really just a security guard who eats donuts and acts like really dorky and stuff. And another episode where, like, you know, since they're poor, he has a cousin that's rich. And so he started pretending like he's living that high society lifestyle, trying to dress better, you know, pinky up in the air, you know, trying to pretend like he's all that, when really his family doesn't have that much money and stuff. And it's episodes, and when you see what he goes through, it's kind of like, man, I recognize some of that stuff, and so did other people, you know. And you don't see that in cartoons. And this was supposed to be like a kid's Saturday morning cartoon, and the fact that they would try to teach you some realistic stuff, and, you know, that was real, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could not get no better than that. And there was one episode that dealt with a bully, and everybody's been through that, where this boy kept bullying Jamal for his money. So he didn't want to go to school. He kept trying to avoid that guy. And then he tried to have Bear try to teach him how to fight. But Bear didn't want him to go down that route. So he literally told him just to talk to that boy. And like, he told him words hurt more than a punch in the face. So he started teaching, like, you know, Jamal how to like this and everything. And it really hurt that bully's feelings. But not only that, but his friends had his back, especially Kim, who's really tough apparently. I remember like the episode where he tried to stay up all night trying to be like a big kid and everything, because his dad was away and he just had his grandparents. And who hasn't tried to stay up all night? I remember like back when I was in high school and stuff, like in middle school, I wasn't allowed to stay up, so I missed a lot of shows on Sunday night. But I remember some of like the best TV times I ever had, other than Saturday morning or like weekday afternoons, was late at night on like Saturday, because all the syndicated shows came out, and syndicated shows were like really interesting. It felt like a completely different world and stuff. And so, you know, I appreciate that they created this cartoon. It didn't last, which is still crazy because there are other shows that were way worse that lasted for many years. And the thing is, it's like I was not expecting just to see this. I was not expecting to experience this. I'm sure a lot of other people weren't either. And the fact that not only did they have a black character as the main lead, he had such a positive attitude. Yeah, he acted a little bratty at times. 'Cause the great thing about him, he was actually voiced by a kid actor. So he felt real whenever he spoke. And he sounded like just a typical kid, like, oh, my dad's the best. And, you can't get no better than that. And like, ooh, look at me. I'm living that high society lifestyle and everything. And, it just felt so real. And it was great to have a positive black influence on television and stuff. Because one of the things that a lot of parents would complain about, well, like at that time, because rap videos were really big in like the 90s, mostly gangster rap, and a lot of like gangster black movies were coming out. And a lot of parents and a lot of other people just didn't like that stuff influencing their kids, because they didn't want them to end up like, running from the police and stuff like that. And so that's why a lot of shows you had like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, like I said before, who would have like, you would see like a black family depicted in like a more like positive manner, because they always wanted to influence kids to not like fall down that rabbit hole and like, end up like behind bars and stuff. And this show was so positive. Yeah, it was your typical Saturday morning cartoons. You had to have some wackiness in there as well. But the thing is that like there are so few black shows out that are cartoons. You got the Proud Family, you had the Boondocks and everything. And whenever you have those type of shows, like I said before, you always have one specific tone or one specific like type of race you would try to like target in everything. The Proud Family's more of like, that balanced, relaxed, almost kind of posh kind of family, kind of like the Fresh Prince, like, Carlton type. And then you had something more like Boondocks that was more like edgy and a little bit more street and stuff like that. A little bit more like, like ghetto and stuff like that. And it's like, but with this show, you had like a blend of like different things and stuff, especially when you see like his group of friends. And I loved how this show wasn't a stereotype. That's the worst thing I hate seeing when it comes to like black people on television and stuff, is that sometimes they're portrayed like stereotypes, especially when it's on like a white network and everything. Or it's like a white predominantly like movie or like television show. And then you will either see like, I guess what you would call like the stereotype black person or more like a token black person, but here you didn't see that and stuff, and Jamal has his flaws and he has his good moments, and so he wasn't like the token black kid who's like so perfect and everything like that. And it's quite a shame that this show got canceled. Now I'm gonna get through the voice cast and some of who these characters are, and then I'm gonna give like my speculation as to why it might have got canceled. Now, one thing I've noticed about the show in season 2 is that it got more preachy, mostly from just that of like Bear. Throughout the entire episode, he would constantly almost like nag like Jamal about doing the right thing. And then like just constantly he's like, you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. A whole lot more than season 1. And then by the end of the episode, they would have like a PSA like announcement and stuff where Bear would like recap the episode and talking about what Jamal did was wrong and how he overcame that and fixed it. Most likely it's because like they probably got complaints by that of parents. And also like around that time, because in the 80s they did that a lot. And then in Sailor Moon in the early 90s, they did that. But it was odd because in the late 90s, they stopped doing that. So most likely, like, parents probably complained that, they don't like this bear and like the things he say and all this rap music and stuff like that. So they needed probably like a PSA to like, help educate kids a whole lot more. Which just shows you like people must have complained about this show or something. So Sea Bear, he's just a stuffed animal, like I said, with magical powers, the magical powers of illusion. Him and Jamal go on so many like adventures and stuff, and he's very street, but he's very wise and everything. He will tell you like it is, and he's pretty blunt. Now they do make all kind of references to celebrities and stuff. They had a character who's like a combination of Prince and like Michael Jackson. One episode. It's so funny. Now he loves Jamal to death, but like he will tell Jamal like how it is. But the thing is, he always fights with like Jamal's dog, and I mean he fights with Jamal's dog. So that's when you get into like the wacky cartoon humor and stuff of it all. But like I said before, he's voiced by Tone Loc, and I've never seen an interview with him where he mentions this. Nobody from this show has ever mentioned this show, and gave an interview and stuff like that. So we don't really know why exactly he created it, but he did, and he did a great job voicing Sea Bear and everything. Sea Bear is kind of like a cross between Kit from Tailspins and a Care Bear. And every time he takes his shades off, his eyes always look squinty with like a glazed look. You know that wasn't on purpose, because there are innuendos in this show, like with the grandparents trying to go up the stairs, and you only see the grandfather, and you see part of the grandmother, and he's making some noises. And you think something's going on, but it's not. He's just trying to get her up the stairs and like carry her and stuff. Then you have Jamal Harrison Wiggins, and so he is voiced by former child actor Arthur Reggie the Third. And so like I remember this dude from Sliders. He was in an episode playing Rembrandt Jr. He's the former child actor. I think he might have been on Nickelodeon or something like that. I can't remember. And Jamal is the primary, he's the main kid of the show. He has a great attitude. He adores his father, but at times he thinks he's a little dopey. He loves his grandparents and everything, but he doesn't always respect their wisdom and what they all went through. He's your typical little boy. And like I said before, it was great that they got an actual kid to voice this character. He was 9 years old in the first episode. He turned 10 in the next. And he even has a love interest at one point where he's trying so badly to win over her, but he just keeps making a fool out of himself. And then in one episode, he gets a big head because he lands a commercial, and then he thinks he's all that and stuff. And so it's great that, because he doesn't know much about life, and there's Sea Bear, his best friend, who goes with him everywhere, that will teach him life lessons that sometimes his parents can't teach him. And the use of magic really helps illustrate that and stuff. Hawthorne Wiggins is played by George Wallace, and he's a very famous comedian. Hawthorne is his loving father, who's a little overweight and always talks about how he's going to exercise but doesn't. He loves his son to death and would do anything for his son. But it is kind of weird because sometimes, Sea Bear will come to life in the car, but yet his dad can never hear him. But then other times when he hears Jamal talking to him or talking about me and Sea Bear just did this, and he's all like, man, I gotta pay attention to this boy more. And he is very attentive to his son and will help his son out in any way there possible. Dawn Lewis plays his grandmother, Bernice, and I couldn't believe she plays it. She's one of those type of grand people who just sounds senile and talks gibberish, because she's a little senile in the head, but she makes for great comedic relief. Like when she wanted to light the stove, she got like a blowtorch and everything. Daryl Shivett, he plays that of Willis, and that is the grandfather. And all he ever does is sit in a chair, watch TV, and says something like comedic, like the grandmother says she has to go somewhere, and he thought she said halitosis, so he's like, ooh, I better brush my teeth again. Maya is his very sassy, very loud, fast-talking friend. She has long, curly, wavy, kind of like reddish brown hair. And the great thing about this is that you don't just see one type of brown skin tone on here. You see different kinds. And she has a lighter skin complexion. It's probably because Kim Fields voices her. And she could be Afro-Latino or something like that. And she's very, very smart, very sassy, very blunt, and will tell you how it is. Now, Aries Spears plays two different characters. And I'm very surprised because he doesn't even sound like neither one of these characters. One of the characters is Big Chill. Big Chill is a very interesting character. He's the he's pretty much like he's very ghetto. You can't never understand a word he be saying, and he has a catchphrase every time he comes into like a room. But the thing that weird about him is his age. Like everybody else is 9 or 10, but it's been told he failed I think the 4th grade or 3rd grade like over and over and over. So you don't really know how old he is because he's supposed to be in middle school. And he drives a car and talks about how he has to do taxes. And so he's always eating. He's kind of like that chubby comedic relief, and he knows how to play like golf and stuff like that. But for the most part, he is probably Jamal's like most ghetto friend there is. Now, Aries also voices that of Kwame. Kwame is very philosophical. He's more like a civil rights advocate. He wears African clothes, which is something black people did a lot in the 90s and stuff, especially rappers. And it was a gimmick, trying to like, some people saw them trying to like, connect to their roots, while other people saw it like a gimmick. And so like, it was funny because like, they've never been to Africa, yet they always wear the clothes because it's a respect thing and everything. It's their people, you know what I'm saying? And so he's all about the oppression. Like he doesn't like being oppressed by the man. He doesn't like when the man sticks it to you. He's all about power of the people and everything. And I remember like when the first episode I saw, it was like a stop sign. You know how a stop sign is red with the word stop in white? And he said that's an oppression by the man because the letters in white are the white man coming to America, stealing the land from the red all around like the stop sign, which is supposed to indicate the Native Americans. And talk about that's how the man sticks it to him. And I'm like, oh my God, that dude's talking about this in a 90s kids Saturday morning cartoon, talking about how the white man stole the Native American land and stuff. And he's so paranoid. He won't eat French fries because he says the way the man sticks it to you, because when you eat those French fries and those fast food companies don't give no compensation to France and stuff like that. Kim is voiced by Margaret Cho. And Kim is a combination of like a valley girl and a ghetto girl. And she's Asian on the show. And she's pretty much his nice friend, but that's all we really know about her. But she also has an attitude problem. Chipster is voiced by Janine Elias. And Chipster is the only white friend he has with red hair. And he's just very, very weird and kooky. Javier, voiced by Paul Rodriguez, is his Hispanic friend who's really good in math. And that's all we really know. And then he has a teacher named Miss Fine. And that's her name, Miss Fine. F-I-N-E. Because the way she looks. I don't know who she's voiced by. It doesn't state it online. But I think it's Holly Pete Robinson, I think. Now, this did come out on DVD in 2000. It is out of print now. But you can find it online. But it's going to cost you an arm and a leg. Pretty much you'll find a used copy, and it'll cost you anywhere between $50 to $100. And you can find a new copy. And some guy has it on eBay for $2,000. Ain't nobody going to pay all that. Ain't nobody going to pay all that. So you can just watch it on YouTube for free. Now, there is still merch that came out back in the day. It's a little stuffed animal of Sea Bear. And I believe you can find both used and new copies on eBay. And I think it might still cost you an arm and a leg. So why did this show get canceled? Well, first, you have to know that the first season that came out in February of '96, It only had 3 episodes, and that's really short order. Normally, when a cartoon show, it has about 13 to 20 episodes in its first season. This was a test run to see if people would like it, and they loved it. So it got greenlit for a second season. But the fact that they had only 3 episodes in the first season tells you the network didn't have no faith in it. They didn't think people would like this cartoon, and they did. And so the second season got 10 episodes. And honestly, I believe the reason why it got canceled is because networks back then tried to rope in tons of like black audience members to watch their shows and watch the other shows on their network. Once they did that, they would cancel these black shows. This happened a lot in live action black series, but I truly believe it was because white parents did not like this cartoon. It was a Saturday morning cartoon, and it featured Sea Bear. And like I said, Sea Bear is very ghetto and stuff. And back then, a lot of parents didn't want their kids listening to rap or like all this other stuff. And in the intro song, Tone Lock would rap, and there would be a rap song every episode. It was also a musical. And I don't think parents like that, because you know how it is. It's kind of like, this is why Hollywood is the way it is. If they feel that like a white audience, because their target audience from like a network that's predominantly white doesn't like something, they will like cancel it. And I truly believe that, parents thought, oh, this is going to send our kids to jail, and they're going to run in the streets and do this and like do that. And you know how it is and stuff like that. When they see something on TV they don't like because it doesn't look like them or act like them or act different. And so I believe that's the reason why this show got canceled and stuff. It's just because it didn't fit what they liked and everything. And so, yeah, this was a really good cartoon. I hope people watch it on YouTube. I'll put the link below, because this is a forgotten cartoon series. Like, a lot of people probably thought they hallucinated, thinking, did I really watch that growing up and everything? And people did. And a lot of people really love this series. And it's a shame more people don't talk about it online. Happy Black History Month, everybody. I'll talk to you later. Bye.